2 decades of civil war, no government, a haven for international piracy, a militant uprising and 1 million refugees. Somalia has long been the international model of a failed state. A new president was elected a year ago and his government's influence is starting to take root. It's trying to move this impoverished nation from an emergency to a recovery phase. But Somalia's challenges, like its social structure, are complex and varied. That's where the European Union, through its comprehensive approach to the Horn of Africa, wants to play a role. With 3 missions, political support and more than €1 billion in assistance, the EU is trying to help get Somalia back on the road to recovery. Security is the biggest challenge, so building up the army is a high priority. It's a big task that Europe's tackling through its military training mission, EUTM Somalia.
The presence of EUTM Somalia in Mogadishu is most certainly an accelerator as far as the European Union is concerned in establishing a future foothold, an expanding future foothold in Mogadishu and throughout Somalia. It will be able to provide situational awareness, provide logistical support, force protection support, to ensure that all of the requirements for a secure deployment of the full spectrum of EU actors, both in Mogadishu and throughout Somalia, is in place.
To help Somalia defend itself, EUTM has moved into the Jiro camp in Mogadishu. For the last 3 years, the mission has been training some 3,000 Somali soldiers and officers remotely in Uganda. Trainees will now be lodged here in some of the camp's 130 buildings. As part of the comprehensive European approach to state building, EUTM staff also advised the Defence Ministry, and the EU funds the African peacekeeping force here. Work at Jiro goes on, bolstering the camp's perimeter with sandbags and watchtowers. The chief security threat in Somalia comes from Al-Shabaab, a hardline Islamist group linked to Al-Qaeda. Fighters routinely launch attacks in Mogadishu to show that they can strike anywhere, anytime. Much of the European Union's political capital goes into supporting this man, President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed. This flight, offshore to meet EU commanders, came the day after an Al-Shabaab attempt on his life. The president has been in office a year, and he's working to project his influence throughout Somalia. The New Deal conference in Brussels in September, which secured new funds and international support, is set to help his government restore stability. The counter-piracy operation, EU naval force Atalanta, is currently run from the Dutch ship Johan de Witt. It's a huge floating dock, capable of launching fast boats to chase down pirate skiffs. The force watches over one of the world's major shipping areas.
In fact, we have 4 tasks. First of all, we protect World Food Programme ships, we deter and suppress piracy, we protect vulnerable shipping, and we contribute to the monitoring of fishing activities off the coast of Somalia. The biggest challenge is the amount of water, because the size of the area we are patrolling over here is the size of Europe.
The EU NAVFOR operation commander has no doubts about the value of the operation.
Europe relies on the trade that goes through the Bab el-Mandeb Straits. 5,000 ships a month pass through that. I should think 80% of that on their way north through there and up to Suez is going to conduct trade with Europe. If we don't have confidence in that route, then all of a sudden one of our key interests is affected.
International efforts at sea, the robust patrolling by warships combined with the work of private security firms on cargo vessels have helped to thwart the pirates. But much work remains to be done on land to provide jobless Somalis with other opportunities.
What we know is that we have brought piracy down by 90%. That's a great statistic, but actually things haven't changed ashore. The networks are still in place, and if we take the pressure off, there's absolutely no reason why piracy won't re-emerge as a difficult issue for us. And so we've got to stay here until the seas are controlled.
Given Somalia's security challenges, ships like the Johan de Witt are also being used as floating classrooms to help tackle the problems of piracy closer to the shore. In the safety of these vessels, the EU Cap Nestor mission is helping to build up the Coast Guard. Staff train police and customs officers in an effort to contain the problem before any would-be pirates make it out to international waters. In the Somali Basin, EU Naval Force personnel head out to round up suspects and question boat owners. They build up a database of information that will help identify repeat offenders and pinpoint the source of the piracy problem. In an exercise on deck, Somalia's top justice officials are taught about European evidence-gathering techniques. This is knowledge they can use to collect, handle and process materials found at a potential crime scene. It's expertise they can use when pirates face them in court.
Our job is to gather evidence and to deliver it to a court, and they will decide.
It's just one part of EU Cap Nestor's work, but it's all part of shifting the focus from piracy at sea back to the land, where extremes of poverty, climate and ideology created the problem in the first place.
Our success with piracy and the changes in Somalia with the federal Somali government mean that there's space and time now to look at this problem ashore. The roots of the piracy problem lie ashore, the symptoms lie at sea. So we need to really get to the heart of this disease.
And at the heart of this disease lie problems of unemployment, particularly among young men. Many jobs were lost in the fishing sector due to piracy and illegal fishing by foreigners.
One of the issues is how do we deal with these boys? Can we provide an alternative way of life so that they will not attempt to adventure again into the sea? European Union has put investment, a lot of money on that direction, and that issue is going underway now, and the EU funds, the EU expertise, all will be facilitating to move Somalia, to push Somalia towards that direction.
Through its civilian and military operations, development assistance and political support, the European Union is trying to help get Somalis back to work by providing security and investment. It's the hope of a better life that might starve Al-Shabaab of recruits and keep young men off the high seas.